to the 8th chapter. We're going to go to the 8th chapter. And just to kind of catch you up to speed, in this 8th chapter, going back to the temple, this is now the second temple. This is Solomon's temple. This is the temple that is being built and being dedicated at this time here. So Yahweh has again told David and promised him that he would build a house for him. Then he comes back and he tells him, but it won't be your hands. It'll be done through your son, through your seed, through Solomon. So Solomon is actually the one that's doing this work. He's actually the one that's performing this work that Yahweh promised would happen. So at this time, again, overlying theme, Yahweh's ways are different, right? Yahweh has taken this temple. He has made a statement that he wants to dwell among man. And he's built this temple, and then he's taken it away. So we're going to look at this from a couple of different angles. We're going to look at it from our perspective today, where there exists not a temple, right? We're going to look at it from the perspective of when the temple was being built in the time period that we're reading of. So let's go down to, let's see how far down we'll go. Let's go down to verse 55. I'm going to read down to verse 61. And he stood and blessed all the assembly of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahweh, who has given rest to his people, Israel, according to all that he promised. There has not failed one word of all his good word, which he promised through his servant Moshe, or Moses. Yahweh our Elohim, or the Lord our God, is with us as he was with our fathers. He does not leave us nor forsake us, to incline our hearts to himself, to walk in all his ways, and to guard his commands and his laws and his right rulings, which he commanded our fathers. And let these words of mine, with which I have made supplication before Yahweh, be near Yahweh our Elohim, day and night, to maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel, the matter of each day in its day, so that all the peoples of the earth might know that Yahweh is Elohim. There is no one else. Let your heart therefore be perfect. Let your heart therefore be perfect to Yahweh, our Elohim, to walk in your own laws and guard your own commands, to walk in his laws, to guard his commands. So the question is, Yahweh has called us to be perfect. He's called us to be perfect, right? And he said that David was perfect, but we know that David has imperfections according to our standards. If that then be the case, then what is this that Solomon is praying when he says, let your heart therefore be perfect? Where did we say that understanding comes from? Heart. From the heart, right? So now we're starting to make these connections. Let your heart therefore be perfect to Yahweh. So we understand it's the understanding that creates this perfection. So now he then says to walk in his laws and guard his commands as at this day. So he's calling us to walk in his laws and walk into his commands, because that is where our perfection lies. So does our perfection lie in the fact that we can walk it out without making an error? No. That's not what made David perfect. Why? Because automatically our ways are different from his ways. Our thoughts are different from his thoughts. So what he's doing is bridging the gap between our ways and his ways. So let's say it one more time. Yah's way,
Yah's way
ain't y'all's way.
ain't y'all's way.
One more time. Yah's way,
Yah's way
ain't y'all's way.
ain't y'all's way.
All right. So let's okay. All right, there's something else to this. We've looked at the perfect side of it. We've looked at the perfection of it. But there's something here, and we're going to look at this because there's a reason that Yahweh wants us to walk before him perfectly. There's a reason. And it ties in with, again, going back to, there's this concept of Yahweh wanting to dwell among men. If we rewind in this same chapter, let's go to verse 2. Chapter 8, verse 2. 1 Kings, chapter 8, verse 2. And it reads, "And all the men of Israel assembled to sovereign Shalom or Solomon at the festival in the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month." Somebody tell me what's in the 7th month. What festival is in the 7th month? Tabernacles. All right, so let's fast forward. Let's look at 65 and 66. Keep that little piece still in the back of your head. 65 and 66. And it reads, "And Solomon at that time observed the festival, and all Israel with him, a great assembly from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi of Mitzrayim, before Yahweh our Elohim, 7 days and 7 days, 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the sovereign and went to their tents rejoicing and glad of heart for all the goodness that Yahweh had done for his servant David and for Israel his people." So again, when we go back to the beginning, we see that this was in the 7th month. Now, typically it calls it, there's a couple of different names that we hear being used here. You know, we're used to Tishri being used, right? But here it uses Ethanim. There's something special about this definition here, and it's the thing that's going to bring this together. So if we can look at this time frame, we know it's during the time of Sukkot. We know it's during the month that Sukkot would have been in. Okay, so we've got it narrowed down. Out of 12 months, we've got it down to 1, right? So Ethanim, the meaning of Ethanim is enduring. It means enduring. Can y'all say that? Enduring. Ethanim, it means enduring. The root word, etham, is in a singular, that's the plural version. Ethanim is the plural version. But the root of it is a singular word which means permanent or continued. So now let's think about this. Yahweh is allowing Solomon to build this temple. We've established that the mindset that sometimes we're in may not always line up with his. So he might be building it for one reason, but truly let's look at what Yahweh is speaking here. They go and they have this festival for 7 days. What else can it be? It's got to be Sukkot, right? 7-day festival in the 7th month. It's got to be Sukkot. But look at what they did in 65. It says it was 7 days and 7 days. 14 days. And then somebody read the first few words of 66. What does it say? And on what day? And on the 8th day. Didn't he just get finished saying it was the 14 days that they were in? The math is troubling anybody else here? There's something to this. We always recognize the number 7 as the number of completion, right? But there's something extra special with the number 7, because it's not just completion, it's completion of a cycle. So if you have a number 7 followed by a number 8, then that means that cycle has restarted, right? 1 and 8 are the same. So when you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the same as 1, and it starts over. Days of the week, it's the same. If you just keep counting, the 8th day will be the same as what the first day was, right? If you start from Sunday, when you get to 8, you're back at Sunday, right? So what Yahweh is really wanting to show us here is that the goal, and they did here even differently than what we typically do from year to year, what they've typically done from year to year. They actually stayed 2 cycles. They stayed 7 days, then they stayed another 7 days. And because it didn't end on 15, we know that the 8th day had to be the same as the first day, right? So this picture that we're creating here, in Sukkot, what is that about? What is Sukkot all about? Dwelling and tabernacling with Yahweh. And what does he say? That I go away to prepare a place, that where I am you may be also. And then what does John start out saying about the Word? That the Word was manifest into flesh and dwelt or tabernacled among men. So then truly that's what it's about then, right? So then we look at this and say, okay, when he built this temple, when Solomon built this temple with the mindset that, and in his prayer, he said, I have built a house that you can dwell in. I have built this house. I've done what you told me to do. I built this house. And now Yahweh wants us to understand his way and our way. So now he begins to break down, okay, this is what you're thinking. That, we put the Ark of the Covenant in there, and we go there, and we have all our worship services. And Yahweh's presence is there, and everybody, wears the right apparel, and everybody, is sure to have the incense lit the way it's supposed to be lit, and the priests know what they're doing with making the sacrifices, all of this stuff, right? Just stuff. And all of this is going on while he's working on getting us to understand his way. And his way is this, that I have done this so that you can dwell with me. And now we go to our perspective. Where's the temple? Where is it, who? We are. Know ye not that your bodies are the temple of the living God? So we are this temple. We're this temple. So as we look at what Yahweh has created, he's created an opportunity for us to dwell in his presence. And again, and I read, they were before Elohim 7 days and 7 days. And on the 8th day, they went out. They began a cycle. Now this was real life, so they couldn't continue it on forever. But really it was more of the symbolic gesture that took place here. And it is such that we will be in his presence. He will dwell with us forever for 7 days and 7 days. Oh, and 7 days. And 7 days. That 8th day is the same as the first. And if that be the case, we have now dwelt in his presence for an eternity. This is what creates that eternal presence of Yahweh with us. So we have to get in the mode of any time, because there's two things that happen right there. One was the indwelling presence of Yahweh. Two is the perfection of his people. Because again, he's called us to walk out before him perfectly. And that's just simply a call to obedience. Doesn't mean you're not going to make a mistake. Doesn't mean that you're not going to mess up sometime. So don't beat yourself up. Don't count yourself out because you've made the mistake. But what we don't want to do is say, oh, well, I can't do it perfectly, so I won't even try. Oh, well, I can't keep the law because Paul said, so I won't even try. Oh, well, I don't really know how to keep the Sabbath, so I won't really try. That's imperfection. That's imperfection. And that's what Solomon fell into. By the time we got to the 15th chapter, that's what Solomon fell into. He got into a place where he was no longer seeking after Yahweh's heart. He was no longer seeking after Yahweh's way. And his way now became the dictator of his steps. His own thoughts, his own mind, his own processes, his own way of thinking. Yeah, if I bring in all of these concubines and all of this stuff, then I'll have more favor and the land of Yahweh can flourish. But Yahweh says, seek my way, not your own. So in this we find perfection. In this we get the opportunity to dwell with him forever. And in closing, turn to Matthew 11:29. Matthew 11:29. In the words of Yeshua, in the words of Jesus, it says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am meek and humble in heart, and you shall find rest for your being. For my yoke is gentle and my burden is light. So it is really our goal, and this is truly that we can't give ourselves too much credit. We can't give ourselves too much credit to think that whatever we think, whatever we've done, whatever mama said, whatever grandma did is always the right way. We have to be bold enough to seek Yeshua, to seek the face of Yahweh, to say, what is your way? Because my way is so far different. My way is so far different that if I depend on myself, who knows where I'll end up? Who knows how I'll end up if I rely upon my own knowledge? So Yeshua says, take my yoke upon you. And he calls us and charges us to learn of him. Let's turn to Psalms 25:4. And this is my prayer for myself, for my family, for this ministry, for everyone here. going to read section in chapter 25, and then we're going to skip down to another portion of Psalms. Chapter 25, verse 4. Chapter 25, verse 4. And it just simply reads, "Show me your ways, O Yahweh. Teach me your paths." Show me your ways, O Yahweh. Teach me your paths. And 25, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the Elohim of my deliverance. On you I wait all the day." Let's go to Psalms 119. Psalms 119. Because truly what we should be striving for is that our way is no longer, but that it is truly His way. That it is truly, we gotta stop. You ever find yourself or find other people around you proving? You have to go through a proof process for what Yahweh says. It has to be proven. If Yahweh says the seventh day is a Sabbath, now I have to prove to you why it's not the first day. But nobody has to prove why the first day is not. So very easily we can question Yahweh's way. Take our own. And just because that's what we're used to, just because that's what we've seen, just because that's what we know, we can push His stuff aside and say, you know what? Yahweh's word is true. Your ways are different from His. So just accept the fact that when you go upon your own way, you're not going to be in line with Him. Accept that simple fact, and then all you got to make up in your mind, all you got to decide and figure out is, let's see, is this His idea or mine? Because if it's yours, you know you're wrong. Because His ways are different from yours. Psalms 119, we're going to read from verse 26 to 33 and close out. And this is truly a prayer by the psalmist that we should all take part in. And I want everybody, and I know we might have different translations, we might have different readings, but I truly want everybody to speak this. I want everybody to speak it, and I want everybody to perfectly walk this out. Because it doesn't mean that you can't make mistakes, but it means that you now hold yourself accountable. So we're going to begin reading with verse 26, and we're going to end at verse 33. All right, let's begin. "I have recounted my ways, and you answered me. Teach me your laws. Make me understand the ways of your orders, that I might meditate on your wonders. My being has wept from grief. Strengthen me according to your word. Remove from me the way of falsehood, and favor me with your Torah. I have chosen the way of truth. Your right ruling I have held level. I have clung to your witnesses, O Yahweh. Do not put me to shame. I run the way of your commands, for you enlarge my heart. Teach me, O Yahweh, the way of your laws, and I observe it to the end. Hallelujah. So we've got to learn that as different as we can be from each other, that's nothing compared compared to the difference, the way we think and the way the Master thinks. And we've got to be ready and willing to learn the lessons. If Solomon never built that temple because he knew that it was supposed to be inside of his heart, he would have never learned the lesson. But we walk out the way of Yahweh and we begin to understand. This is the importance of being obedient. So very simply, the call to action is, before we do anything, before we accept anything, before we decline anything, seek the Father's way. Seek the Father's heart. And I'm telling you, if you are walking out Torah, you don't have to look far. Because in everything he tells us to do, he gives us a lesson. In everything. This is why we can't forsake things and say, I'm not going to do this. You'll never get what's there for you. We can't just say, oh, we'll make it up on our own. We'll put our own holiday in place and then we'll do that for this reason. You lose all the significance. So if we can seek his way, then we can do exactly what it ends with, which is, teach me, O Yahweh, the way of your laws, and I observe it to the end. Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Any questions? Any comments?